Thank you for joining us today for the People Street application webinar. We're doing this as a resource today for people joining us, and also we're recording, so we'll have this available online for people to watch at any time. My name is Elizabeth Gallardo, and I'm an assistant project coordinator in Active Transportation Division of LADOT. So today we're trying to give some information about People Street, what the projects are about, and what you can do to apply and put together a good application for our application cycle. So what is People Street? People Street contributes to active, accessible, livable streets with the intention of improving quality of life in Los Angeles. It's our citywide placemaking program, and it deals primarily in partnerships with the community. So if you're a community group, a business, we take all kinds of applicants to work together to make these projects happen. The program is administered by LADOT's Active Transportation Division. This year we have incorporated more People Street projects beyond our regular scope of Plazas, Parklets, and Bicycle Corrals. We're trying to grow the program to really include things that encourage people to walk and bike to their local neighborhood corridors. So we have these different typologies: plazas, which convert redundant or underutilized road space into people spaces; parklets, which basically extend the sidewalk to create more pedestrian space into a parking space; bicycle corrals, that create more parking in a parking space for bicycles instead of taking up sidewalk space; bicycle repair stations, they're basically stands that provide a mount for your bicycle, tools, and a pump for people to learn how to do DIY repairs on their bikes. Bicycle Friendly Business, which is a program we're getting ready to launch online that allows any business to opt in, provided that they adhere to a certain number of bicycle-friendly practices, with the intention of encouraging people to ride their bikes to local business and spend more time and potentially dollars in the neighborhood. And then Bicycle Friendly Business Districts, which is kind of a culmination of all these things, focusing amenities for people walking and biking into a business district area to encourage people to take short trips by walking and biking. And in Los Angeles, 47% of trips are under 3 miles, which makes them easily walkable and bikeable. So right now we're in our 2015 application cycle. We have 3 project types that we're accepting applications for: the plazas, the parklets, and the bicycle corrals. The application cycle closes on December 15th. And the newest part of this application cycle is that bicycle corrals, which were previously a rolling application, are now going to be done on an annual basis. So about the program, it's a program that's based in partnerships. It's community driven, which means that you guys propose the projects and we work with you to figure out how to make them work. It's an application-based process that requires an agreement with the community partner. For the plazas and parklets, it's a 1-year memorandum of understanding, and we intend to renew them. And for the bicycle corrals, it's a maintenance agreement that is valid for the lifetime of the corral, so as long as it's in the ground. We have a website that you can find a plethora of resources on. It's peoplestreet.lacity.org. This program is basically created from a kit of parts, which instructs on how to put together projects. The kit of parts is pre-approved, which helps expedite the process and hasten the installation. And it's done with the intention of being quick and cost efficient. So there is a shared responsibility and expenses for the different types of projects. This chart here gives an outline of the different expenses. For the plazas, the expenses are pretty 50%, 50% with the community partner and the city. The community partner pays for furnishing, soils and plant materials, and maintenance and upkeep. And the city pays for the surface treatment, the planters and the initial fill for the planters, the delineators, and the signage. For the parklet, it's almost 100% on the community partner. The partner pays for the permit, the construction, the installation, the contractor, the architect, anything involved with design, and the maintenance and upkeep. And the city pays for the identity and wayfinding signage. And for the bicycle corral, the expenses are almost entirely on the city, where the community partner is only responsible for the maintenance and upkeep, and the city pays for the corral, the delineators and signage, and the installation and removal of the project. In terms of responsibilities, similarly, the responsibilities are distributed. For the plaza, the community partner is responsible for general liability insurance, maintenance and upkeep, and programming, and the city is responsible for design development and installation. For the parklet, the community partner is responsible for design development, purchasing all the materials, installing and removing the parklet, general liability insurance, and the maintenance and upkeep. And then the city is responsible for paying for the signage. And then for the bicycle corral, the community partner is primarily only responsible for doing the initial outreach and then maintaining the corral, which means sweeping and keeping it free of graffiti and stickers. And the city does everything else, so the site evaluation, design, and the installation and removal of the project. So who are we looking for to be community partners? BIDs are great partners, chambers of commerce, nonprofits, property owners, business owners. We will evaluate applications and other organization types on a case-by-case basis, but another idea behind the community partnership is that the community partners can partner with other community partners. So perhaps the BID is great at maintenance, but they don't have as much experience in programming, but maybe there's a neighborhood nonprofit that's great at programming. So we really encourage community partners to work with themselves and create coalitions that can really bring these projects to life. So our project program is developed at first out of pilots. We did a number of pilots that led to the formalization of the program. The first plaza, Sunset Triangle Plaza, we had 4 parklets and 2 bicycle corrals. So here's just an image of Sunset Triangle Plaza. This project used redundant road that was headed to Sunset, and we closed off one road, so there's still another access point to Sunset. The York pilot on Highland Park. Spring Street, we have 2 parklets. The one pictured here is in front of LA Cafe. The Huntington Drive parklet and the York Boulevard Bicycle Corral. We also had a bicycle corral at Sunset Triangle. So after we did our pilots, we also had another application cycle, our first application cycle. And during that cycle, we had 3 plazas, 3 parklets, and we installed 11 bicycle corrals. So the year 1 plaza include Leimert Village Park, or plaza. And here you can see they are having some kind of art walk. This was a redundant roadway where there's the same road footprint on both sides of this park. The plaza really works to connect the businesses to the park and really give the community access to more of their public space instead of having them cut off from it. This space has been very successful in hosting events and has really become a gathering space for the community. NoHo Plaza in North Hollywood is a great example of another typology. The plaza is basically in a redundant alley. It was an alley that led to another alley. So this is a great solution for a plaza space that is off a busy corridor. So Lankershim Boulevard is here in the background, and it really allows for this kind of open space to exist on a place that's still going to be dedicated to cars on Lankershim. Something to note about this plaza is the windows of the fitness studio next door. Those provide casual surveillance with eyes on the street, which is really important for these projects. Bradley Avenue Plaza is our last plaza in Pacoima. Here you can see there's a Zumba class happening. This is a great example of underutilized road space. This was a dead-end street. It dead-ended on an alley, and this community has a great need for open space. You can see in the background there's a housing project that has many multifamily housing units, and they need areas where they can do activities like exercise, social gatherings, festivals, all those things. And then we have our bicycle corrals. Bicycle corrals are great in places that have maxed out their car spaces. So for instance, this is an example of corrals in Venice and Abbot Kinney. This area is actually completely maxed out on bike parking. There's no more space in the sidewalks to place bike parking. So people are already biking there a lot because there's not a lot of parking to begin with. So when we remove one car parking space, we create 16 to 20 bike parking spaces. So in an area where that's limited parking, this really helps businesses maximize their customer base. This is another example of the Year One Bicycle Corrals on Traction Avenue. This picture we included so that you could see how bicycle corrals free up space on the sidewalk. So here in Traction, you can see in the sidewalk there's scars from where we removed bike parking. And there was really, the sidewalk here was really crowded. There's a huge demand for sidewalk dining here. And by moving the bike parking off the sidewalk, we've created more space for sidewalk dining. And we've seen at this location, the sidewalk dining has doubled since we installed the bike corral. So this is the timeline for our application cycle. We're in the middle of the application window. It opened on November 1st and will close on December 15th. We do application review in January 2016, and then we send out an initial determination regarding applications in February 2016. So what can community partners do to apply and to get ready for these applications? The first thing that we suggest is for people to go and check out installed projects around the city. So, you can check back on this webinar, you can check our website for the list of projects. We have a map on our website that gives locations where all the projects are. Applicants should also download and read all the application materials in the kit of parts. Those, like I said, are all online. Applicants should start planning their sites and coordinating with the neighbors. So getting in touch with your neighbors early and getting neighbor support for the projects early is very important for the projects to be successful, because we really need to see community buy-in and community support. While you're getting your projects together, you can also start running ideas by me or us in Active Transportation Division. It's really important that we get to discuss the locations that people have in mind. In case there's any deal breakers, we can weed that out initially and maybe help find a better location to apply for, because we want to see these applications be successful. And again, the community support and planning is key to getting projects ready. So maybe another aspect of that would be getting together your project team, which would be, who are you going to have doing the programming, who are you going to have doing the maintenance. All of those partnerships should start getting developed right now. So again, visit peoplestreet.org/getready, and that's where you can find all of these materials. And here's just a screenshot of our website under Apply for Project. So applications can be submitted online. For plazas and parklets, we have a portal through the Bureau of Engineering. They can also be emailed or mailed in. For bicycle corrals, the applications can be accepted through email or mail. So tips that you should work on right now are request letters from the neighborhood council early, or request letters and request your neighborhood council appointment early. This application cycle has a new requirement where applicants need to present to the neighborhood council. They don't need a letter of support directly from the neighborhood council, but we need proof that the applicant has shared the project idea with the neighborhood council at a meeting. And because those meetings are monthly, making sure you get on the agenda early is important. We may extend the deadline for that requirement through January because of the holiday season, and some neighborhood councils don't actually meet in December. But also the letters of support. So during your community outreach, requesting those letters so that people have enough time to fulfill them. We have templates for the letters online. Another thing that community partners should be doing right now is talking to design professionals. So especially for the parklets, understanding all the different elements that go into developing them and getting them in the ground. There are a number of firms in Los Angeles that are interested in doing pro bono partnerships, and we can help assist people with making connections with those too. In terms of the project team, like I said, figuring out who's going to do what and who's going to pay for what for a project in the spectrum of costs and responsibilities. And then also just educating people about these types of projects. A lot of people don't know these project typologies. If you tell someone about a parklet, they might think you mean a pocket park and not a sidewalk extension into a parking space. So just really like helping people understand what these projects are actually about and showing them pictures, telling them about existing ones. That's very important. So we've included some basic criteria for the projects that we wanted to go over to help people understand where they can put projects. In terms of size, the minimum size for plazas is 2,000 square feet. I would say an example of that would be the NoHo Plaza, if you wanted to go take a look and see what that looked like. And for parklets, it's one parking space. It's very important that all of the projects maintain access. So projects can't block driveways. Circulation needs to be maintained, especially for transit, deliveries, sanitation. Locations that we're looking for should be underused or redundant. And we're looking to place projects on streets with low speeds, so that are streets that are people friendly. We prefer 25 miles per hour, but we may consider projects on a 35 mile per hour street, provided that there's a proper buffer, meaning a bike lane, a buffered bike lane, or a cycle track. So other location criteria. For parking zones, we're pretty much okay with removing metered parking segments as long as it's approved by the council office, and all projects are required to get a council office letter of support, so you can sort that out with your council member then. We don't permit projects in red zones. Most red zones are there for a reason, so we don't just use that instead of a parking space. For white and green zones, it's very important that the projects have letters of support from the neighbors. Parking is very sensitive for businesses, so you have to get everybody on board if you're going to take it away. And for the yellow and blue zones, those can be relocated but there's a fee associated with them. For utilities, we have to maintain access to utilities. No projects within 15 feet of a fire hydrant for parklets or bike corrals, and we have to make sure that projects don't cover utility or manhole covers. So you'll find all of that information as you're doing your site plan for your application. Another part of the location criteria that's very important is the surrounding land uses. We really want to place projects where they're going to be successful. So that means putting them in places where there's existing pedestrian uses or an existing demand for pedestrian uses. Surrounding uses that support projects are food, dining, shopping, cultural institutions, transit. It's very important, especially for plazas, that there are adjacent businesses to support the project type. For instance, in the case of there's movable furniture, the neighboring business would be storing that furniture, hypothetically. And that's important because we really want to have movable furniture on the sites. Movable furniture provides engagement, constant engagement with the site. It gives people an option for flexibility, and it keeps people aware that people are caring for the site, which is really important. We want to ensure that there's usage at diverse times of the day, which is facilitated by all of this pedestrian activity. But one of the most important factors of making these successful projects is having eyes on them, so eyes on the street. The requirements for community outreach and support are here. We have a minimum of 3 letters. The first that comes from your council district office. So that's your council member. We have a map online that you can check out to find out who your council member is. We require letters of support from anyone whose parking you're going to affect. So once again, you can check that list of white curb, green curb, yellow curb, or blue curb. And then we also need letters of support to any adjacent property owners or business owners directly impacted by the project. So if it's a plaza, every business facing the plaza needs to write a letter. If it's a parklet, it's your parklet host and then the 2 neighbors on each side. So I already mentioned this requirement of going to a neighborhood council meeting. So applicants can either attend a full meeting of the neighborhood council or they can attend a subcommittee. So that would probably be the land use subcommittee. In terms of the documentation, we require either a meeting agenda that has your project agendized or else meeting minutes. If you didn't make it to the agenda, you can request meeting minutes from the neighborhood council. So general inquiries can be sent to peoplestreet@lacity.org. And here are just some examples of, this is the life cycle of a project for a parklet. And you can find this both on the one sheets that we've uploaded as handouts and in the application online. But you can see the different phases that we go through, from application selection to design development and approvals to installation to the active lifetime and maintenance of the project. All of these steps are detailed in the application materials, so you can really go through and read what is required, but an easy key to addressing the responsibilities. If the community partner is involved, you'll see those are the green boxes, and then where the city is responsible, it's the blue. And you can see the plaza and the parklet life cycle is pretty similar. It's important to note, we really expect these projects to last, and so we have renewal or removal, and we evaluate the projects every year to find out if there's anything we need to change, if there's any issues. But especially for the plaza surfaces, those surfaces are meant to last between 5 and 7 years easily. So we'd like to see projects last that long. For the bicycle corral, the application process is much more simple. You can see the majority of it lies in the city, and the active lifetime is much more simple. So I've included a section where we can kind of go into the nitty-gritty of the application and check out some parts. and then maybe anyone who has questions can ask questions at the end. Here we have an example of the existing conditions site plan for a plaza. You can see you show the proposed site, you show the surrounding streets, you show the sidewalks, and then you show the different elements of the street. So you would include stormwater drains, bike racks, street lights, planters, all of those elements we want to see in your existing conditions plan. It helps us evaluate what we need to know about the site and whether it's feasible. Here you can see an example of the parklet. You see they've added the bike lane, the red curbs, trash cans, anything that would interfere with access to the parklet. This is what we ask for in terms of photos. You can see the different photo view sheds that we're looking for. This helps us evaluate the sites and see what's there. So you can see this is a building elevation, the opposite side of the street elevation. You can see the sidewalk views. This is the type of sidewalk views we're looking for up street and down street. Here are examples of photos of gutters and public utilities. So the public utilities being gas, water, sewage, manhole covers, fire hydrants, lighting, all those things, and any above ground fixtures. You can check for the different details of your project. We have 2 kit of parts, and then we also have the technical appendix kit of parts for Parklets, which basically provides the architectural details for the construction of our different parklet typologies. Here's some examples of proposed programming. We ask for a programming description of different things that are going to happen at the site, you know, whether it's an art walk, music events, farmers markets. We have additional materials that we're going to request for plazas, which include budget and maintenance plan and financial statements. So the budget and maintenance plan basically just outlines the required hours of manpower that are going to be part of the maintenance, how often they'll happen, just to give the community partner a good sense of what is required of them. And then a similar request for the parklets. For the bicycle corral, we require a site checklist, location criteria, and then kind of a little evaluation of the different activity surrounding the site. So here is an example of all the things on the checklist for the bicycle corral. A lot of this is we already went through in the location criteria for the other projects, but something to note is the state highway detail for the bike corrals. And for any projects, really, we can't put projects on right-of-way that's managed by Caltrans. So any of the state highways, meaning the 287, which I believe is Venice, portions of Venice Boulevard, the 1, you know, there's small little portions of state highways in California, and in the application we have a link to those spaces. And then we have some extra location criteria. If you want to come back and look at this, this is all detailed in the application. And then looking at the active transportation on the site. So are there bikeways present? Are there bikeways proposed in the mobility plan? You can check out the mobility plan online. I believe those links are also included in the application. But we really want to see our projects going in sites that have activity that supports them. And then here's an example of the different documentation that we're looking for the bicycle corral, and then the letters. And that concludes our presentation today. I guess we will take any questions if we have any of our attendees. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the question box, and I will answer them as I get them. Okay, I guess we have no questions, so that's going to conclude our presentation today. Thank you so much for joining us, and feel free to contact us to discuss any People Street projects that you have in mind. I'll just take us back to the email here, peoplestreet@lacity.org, for any and all of your questions about People Street projects.